Nithyanandam Paramashivoham Kevalam Jnanamurtim Manvatitam Gaganasarisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Pragananaitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Namaskaram everyone, welcome to Hinduism Now Global Press Live. Hindus talking about Hindumisia, and just wanted to let everyone know there's a link in the description if you'd like to be involved with Hinduism Now Global Press in any capacity, or you'd like to find out more information, or you have suggestions, links, etc. that you'd like to share, or have it be shared for more people. You can fill out that form and put the information you'd like to share or what your interest is, and we'll reach out to you and find out what we can do to enrich the ancient Enlightenment Hindu ecosystem. And so we're continuing today. From yesterday, we had a very revealing and explorative discussion with Santi Dash Ji, and just learning about a lot of things, actually, many things. And so I'll just give a bit of a recap about some of the things we went through yesterday, just so we can get up to speed and as to where we're going to start today. So Santi Dash Ji grew up spent the first 7 years of his life in a small village, just about halfway between Puri and Bhubaneswara in Odisha. And then he moved to, I believe, his Bhubaneswara after that to go to grade school. And so, yeah, that's one of the things we've been learning with some of our guests is about what the traditional village lifestyle is like in India and how the people interact and how they live, which is it's really, really important because of the attacks, like the systematic destruction of indigenous civilizations around the world. And so the cunning way that colonial invading powers plan to pit one group against another, and it's usually by complete false narratives, total made-up lies, to start to teach even what kind of words and framing is used to pit one group against another. So we talked about, for example, the 1871 Criminal Tribes Act that ended up listing more than 200 people groups, communities, Hindu communities, including sadhus and others, and labeling them as criminals, making them criminals by birth. And so we spoke about how in the Varnashrama system, Varnashrama Dharma, the four power centers of society are divided amongst four groups to make sure that none of the groups are exploited and the society is interdependent. So Shudras are owning and controlling the land, and the Vaishyas are controlling money and wealth, and the Kshatriyas are controlling the military or the administration, and the Brahmanas are responsible for wisdom, teaching, knowledge. And so all of these groups are interdependent so that none of them can exploit any others. And for example, the Vaishyas would be the only group who would even touch money. So you don't get political or corporate powers that are also controlling money or the food supply. And so anyway, so these are some of the things that we sort of covered yesterday. And just learning about how, for example, British colonial interests, right, through the imposition of various laws, prevented Adivasis from even farming up the land or sustaining themselves through the forests, and so they were forced to move into larger cities, etc. So basically, disconnecting the traditional Hindu village communities from being self-sustaining. So one of the things that Santi Dash Ji was sharing yesterday was that because there's so many villages, even small villages of even 100, 200, 300 people, and they're almost entirely self-sufficient. So to be able to completely decimate that is not a small task. And so just the strength of the Varnashram Dharma system itself made the fact that Hinduism is even alive until today, because those communities were interdependent with each other, and so we're not looking to exploit each other, but to support each other. And so we looked at that aspect. And then also, Santi Dash Ji was sharing about, so many things, about just growing up in the village community and what it was like, and how a child doesn't necessarily recognize that we're living Hinduism or practicing Hinduism, but this is just more of the way of life, the way of doing things. Having the extended family community, and so many things actually. And that also, that when I had gone to, moved into older ages of grade school, then he was encountering a lot of actually derogatory, even jokes, demeaning Hindu gods. So we sort of shared about that and how it's really essentially impossible for a middle school age child to be able to come out of that. So much peer pressure and so much negativity. And so I was sharing about how he used to relate, for example, with even learning about Mahabharata from a early age, and how he used to connect with Lord Ram by explaining and visualizing, connecting to Lord Ram in the situation that he was in a very personal way. So these are some of the beautiful, opportunities that we have when these are the things that you grew up with, learning about the great incarnations of history, of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And that's what you know, and that's what you connect to, and that's how you live. And naturally, that's who you would identify with when you're having difficulties. So it's very dangerous when you connect to systems like we brought the Freudian system. When you connect with systems like modern psychology that don't actually give complete solutions to life. When you look for a solution in a system that doesn't give solutions, then you're bound to failure. And so these are some of the trappings of modern society that you're getting caught in adopting solutions from systems that don't give solutions and not really even aware of that. So there was that's a sort of a brief synopsis of some of the things that I was witnessing yesterday. And that's all I'll really say about it for now, because it was, if anyone's been following our Hindumisia discussions, there's so many things in common, and there's so many experiences in common for Hindus growing up. And it really starts to illustrate how young kids develop a deep feeling connection and loving affection with the Hindu deities, and it really just gets crushed through the Hindu music attitude of society. And so that has really been illustrated if anyone's been following through the different discussions we've been having. So it's been great to be able to expose that in a very sort of, open and casual sharing way. It's not, we haven't been, necessarily looking for ways to attack, to necessarily attack, but we've uh, just been uh, requesting people to share their story. And just in that, you can see so much anti-Hindu ecosystem. And it has been showing itself in ways that we didn't expect and ways that we didn't look for. But in retrospect, when we look, we can see how that subtle bias of what is actually life negativity, but also directly anti-Hindu and Hindumisic attitudes and narratives and stories really just sort of, in a lot of ways, crushes the spirit of the child who, in an innocent way was connecting with the baby. So anyway, so we're going to, I have one point I wanted to start at today because it's actually that point. Because that I thought was, from the ages of 7 to 15, say where a child starts sort of using more words to tell stories about their life, then they start looking to use more logic to explain things. And that's where you were saying that, and even in the older grades, but when you went to the city and you started going to the bigger schools, you encountered a lot of just even, casual derogatory comments about Hindu deities, about the gods. And you were saying that was like, essentially impossible to come out of. And so anyway, if you want to share something about, how did that conflict happen for you, and how did it progress?
Yeah. So as I was discussing earlier, so when I was 15, so the way the school system works in India is during my time, up to 10th grade, you go to school. Then after 10th grade, for the next 2 years, you go to college. And after that, you go to a university. So that's the way it works. So 10 plus 2 plus 3, that's what they say. So when I went from school to the college, so I was, as you summarized it pretty well. So essentially, I had some difficulties in terms of it was an English medium school. Means the college is mostly, the instruction is mostly delivered in English. So I studied in a mother tongue Odia medium school. So I had difficulty in adjusting to the new curriculum, new way of instructions and things like that. So I used to communicate in a very personal way. I used to write down and everything to Lord Rama, because he was at that time, he was the closest deity to which I could relate to. And during that time, the Ramayana serial was also going. The TV series Ramayana was also going. So it means that had a lot of influence on me. So I was very close to. And when we went to college, usually in the corridors, the students will sit down and they will gossip around different topics, and they will just, not always, but many times they'll make fun of gods and goddesses in a way that I did not agree with it necessarily, but I did not have a way to counter it. And many times it's like, that it is wrong, but you just don't speak up or anything because of the fear, go with the flow kind of thing. So there are many incidents like this, but one of the turning point that I had with respect to this negative discussions around Hinduism or Hindu gods, goddesses, when I went to do my master's. So I went from Bhubaneswar to a city called Hyderabad. That's where I did my higher studies, University of Hyderabad. It's a premier institute in India. And from all over India, the students come to study there. And So just to show you, there used to be like myself as a entry level student, and there used to be seniors, the immediate seniors and next level seniors. There used to be a parody song they used to sing, and in that parody song they used to make fun of a great saint called Tulsidas. Tulsidas was one of the great saint, and not just make fun, basically with the attributes that you'll never give those attributes to Tulsidas or any god for that matter. You'll never give those attributes. And with that parody song, so you will basically, how you will do it is you will sing that parody song in the loud voice and march around the campus. Okay. And it's kind of it was a cool thing to do. Everybody used to do that. It's like, it shows up that you are modern, you are out of means, you are much more logical. It means you don't think, and it is and that is the way. When means I also did many times with them, not many times. I also participated in those. And the other things during that time happened is I got into reading books on Freudian psychology, and I had a lot of questions of my own in terms of physiopsychological behavior that I was internalizing myself. Why these things is like this? Why the society is like this? So if you look at Freudian psychology analysis or any kind of modern psychology, they try to explain things from 2 points of view. One is sex and power structure. If you look deep, they will put everything sex and power structure. So once you start analyzing and looking at things from that point of view, it was easier to logically define different happenings that was happening around you, even which was like, for example, the casteism. Casteism was the biggest, but casteism you can explain from a power point of view. If you strictly look from a power point of view, you can explain those behaviors, the deeper, darker side of human beings. You can explain it through those behaviors. Okay, and that's how you can rationalize. Okay, the casteism could be part of Hinduism because there is a darker side of human beings. They are trying to take control of power, and it is very plausible that it is means you can have a hierarchical based system, and hierarchical based system can give some kind of social order and things like that. You can easily, it means to bring a social order, you need to have a very hierarchical system. Look at the army, how their hierarchical is, things like that. You can means I was struggling in my head in terms of how means it in a Hindu construct there is no hierarchy. That I learned at a very later point, like maybe up to 2014, after maybe towards mid-40s. Okay, it is a very different construct. But when you are getting into that, there is no atmosphere, there is no ecosystem, into Hindu ecosystem to discuss. Your peers are practically either more of a thought current of means they're demeaning Hindus, and it is cool to be like that. So that means these questions are coming to your mind, and how you are trying to logically justify each of these questions, right? Because I have not come across any enlightened master, I have not come across any guru by then. I have not. It is a practice that I have held on to. I have not listened to any of the satsangs of any guru. I don't have those avenues to listen even. So at that point, I didn't have any avenues to listen. So I have not come across any of that. Means I just growing up, I just practiced in a very personal way of my own, building deities, making deities, playing with them, dressing them, making colors with them, taking them around. That's how I grew up. But I never thought at that point any whether it's logical to do it or illogical to do it. Means any of those questions were not there. But when you get into a more adulthood and you see people around not doing it, and you see people around even making fun of it, on top of it you see people around making parody out of things and like being proud about it, then this question starts coming up. And then that's when I took the help of like understanding through psychology, modern psychology behaviors. And when I started looking at Freudian psychology, most of the things that became logical in a sense, okay, the power hungry, being power hungry is illogical. Maybe it's because you're power hungry, you have a society like this. Means those things started making to a certain extent making sense, right? So that is what happened when I did my master's, and that was the turning point when I moved away from my Hindu practices significantly. In my group, actually, I had a very close friend. I had quite a few close friends, but one of the close friend, by the way, my family in Odisha, it is usually in Odisha, throughout India, Brahmins, if you belong to a Brahmin family, they tend to avoid any kind of meat or non-veg. Okay, but that is not the case in Odisha. Odisha and West Bengal are those two states where a Brahmin family you also eats meat, especially fish and other meats. They eat. They avoid. They not avoid. They do not eat cow, but they will eat meat, usually goat and. So I had a very close friend when I was doing masters, and he was from um, South Indian Brahmin family. His family doesn't even go anywhere close to eating meat, but he changed there completely. Okay. During those 3-4 years of time, he changed completely. He smoked. He ate meat. He ate everything in that. That is the kind of influence you have when you detach yourself completely. Even your family upbringing is very different. Later on, I think later on in his life, he changed back to becoming a vegetarian, but I'm not in touch with him as much. But just to show you the effect of the peer pressure, the effect of the demonizing Hinduism, demonizing demonizing this Hinduism and everything in the absence of a guru-based system, so to say. So what happens is when you are become a part of a guru sampradaya or any of the sampradaya, there is something to counter to it. The guru, there is something to go back and counter to it. Means, but I didn't have anything. None of my friends had anything. There is nothing to counter. There was no social media or even to look at alternate source of information. You didn't have those. So, and to me, it is an extreme form of brainwashing against your own culture with an extreme form of ignorance. Like, for example, like I was ignorant. I mean, looking back at it, how it means stupid and dumb one can be. So, but that is how it was. It was, and it did not stop there either. Means then by the way, something in me, I do not know till date. I have not reflected on it as much, but something in me, even my family was eating non-veg, and it is I was a vegetarian for some time, for good about maybe 10 years. I was a vegetarian. So except I was eating egg. Other than egg, egg I did not consider because it was logical mind thinking, right? So egg means I'm not killing anybody, so it's okay to have egg. So that's the way I rationalized it. So without egg means except egg, I didn't eat any non-veg or anything till I came to United States in '96. So that's when I changed and started eating non-veg, and it was mostly due to I could not find much food, vegetarian options that made me change. So there was something I means I don't know what it was that was holding on to me, because my parents were non-vegetarian. It was very inconvenient to keep two kinds of food, vegetarian and non-vegetarian. Oh, my mom was not happy, but still I continued doing that. So then I came to USA in '96, and after I came to USA in '96, the same logical things kept going in terms of defining same typical why the casteism is, maybe it's a hierarchy based system to maybe to keep control. You try to define everything to logic, in the sense that, okay, why Hindus do let's say that why Hindus a common example, they will why Hindus to do namaskar, like they fold their hand, then there will be some logic and you'll feel good about it, okay, saying that. So you try to find silly logics without getting in deeper, like so, because everything is, that's the way they, and it was more like a feeling proud about it, not really looking at the real meaning about it. Okay, and then we go for answers looking for science, and when we say that, okay, there is something which has scientific, also we feel very good about it. But you don't really get to the essence of it. It means what it is, what is the entire system. That never occurred to me. It was everything I was looking at more from a pure convenient and logic point of view. This could have been done this way because of maybe there was some social chaos, or maybe, but not really digging down deeper. And another thing in Hinduism and everywhere, it is for to all Hindus, it is somehow indoctrinated from the very beginning in our mind that all the religions, like Christianity, Islam, all the religions take you to God realization. Okay, so it becomes very difficult to. So what it does is, when you have such a generic framework, you have a very generic way of understanding things. All the religions take you to God realization. You tend to look at things in a very different way. You don't differentiate or anything. You don't even we become so naive that you cannot even look at if some other religion or some other person from another religion is bashing you, and you take the ownership of, you take a deep guilt ownership, instead of a way to understand he's bashing you just to put you down, so that later on, means maybe you won't be opposed to his agenda. You don't even think that way. It's like indoctrinated into people's head. Every Hindu goes through that indoctrination from the very beginning, that all the religions goes to lead to the same path. So that kind of makes you guilt if you try to look for certain things. If some way it gives you a feeling that it may put the other religion at in a way that it is in a way it is lesser than your religion, lesser than truth. I won't say your religion, lesser than the truth. So, for example, in my group, in my close group in universities, I have a Christian who is converted Christian, but it is very difficult. It was very difficult for a long time for me to talk anything that might put Christianity at Christianity as not a spiritual place, as it's not a spiritual path, or specific sections of Christianity will not lead you to spirituality. I could not put that, because if I put that, there was a big guilt in me that it will make him feel bad. It will make it as though Hinduism is better than that. So those comparative logic was coming into any conversations. So it was always more at a receiving end. You don't say anything, you just receive it as much as you can. You think that if somebody is pinpointing a fault at you, then most likely he's doing it for a genuine reason, and it maybe some purpose is there, and that genuine reason is to make you feel better. As a Hindu, I should always make myself improve and make myself better. So that is the trap that you get into. That is a trap you get into, and it's very hard to come out of that trap when you are taking a lot of guilt along with it, and you can't respond to any of those um, those allegations or challenges, because you feel that the other religions are in equal footing in terms of spirituality. They have also, their intent is also as spiritual God relation as your intent is. So you really do not think any different way, any other way. So you and you always take the other person's intent is extremely genuine, and that's how you tend to have a conversation with others, and that causes a lot of guilt, as well as a lot of what you call powerlessness. Over a period of time, you feel extremely powerless. So one incident when I moved here, overall I was more like open in terms of exploring different religion, as well as I don't read as many books, but the books that I read, I remember for life. So basically, if I take maybe in a year or two, I might be reading one or two books, but that book will have either it will have a very positive impression on things, or it will have no impression, or it will have a very negative impression on or negative conclusion. Not those book. Many of the books are lead to a conclusion for me, not an impression in a way. So I used to read books during my time, and so one of when I was living in the USA, one of my in the same apartment, there used to be a couple from Kerala. They are Christians, and they used to live in the same community, and they're from India. So in general, I just asked them, hey, means what is they talk about Easter and Jesus and everything else. So I asked them, why don't we go to your church one day? So he said they were very happy, and they took us to the church. It was a church in Fort Lauderdale. It was a huge church. So me and my wife went there, and we are sitting there, and the priest he addresses the mass, right? So one thing that struck me, which till date I cannot forget, that towards the end of the sermon, from nowhere, he started bashing Buddhism. Okay, started making fun of Buddhism and talking negative about Buddhism, and means from nowhere. And then after that, I never really had any inclination to go to church, but so I never bothered asking him. But that was my first sincere encounter in terms of learning about Christian practices. So that's how it progressed. The days progressed, and I used to live in USA. I had a lot of good friends, and I used to, in the social circle, we used to do party and drink casual alcohol. We were drinking, means I used to drink alcohols and things like that. So that's how it went on till 2014. So in 2014, by accident, I was just listening to some videos, and by accident there was Rajim Malhotra's name came up in that video. So I just started Googling who this person Rajim Malhotra is. Then I read one or two articles of him. Then I saw his book, Being Different. Then I don't know, for some reason, I just ordered that book, Being Different, written by him. So after I read the book, Being Different, I read the book, and also listened to many of his lectures of Being Different. So after I read the Being Different, I became, something happened. I don't know what happened, but after that, I was not the same person again. I was a true Hindu activist. So I spent my money. I bought about 6 copies of Breaking India, 6 or 8 copies of Breaking India, 2 copies of Being Different, and gave Breaking India book to the library, gave and Breaking in book to many other people, and mm, and one thing that happened is I started rebelling within one thing, and I put my children in Chinmaya Mission, both of my sons. I sent them to Chinmaya Mission right after that, after I read the book. And the rebel was more towards myself, that how fool and dumb I can be, how much I can be, means lied so much, because I consider myself a high IQ intellectual person till that point. Okay, here I have a huge ego that this is I am a high IQ intellectual person. I can decipher through logic, decipher through everything, and then I see this where after I read the book, the whole Freudian analysis fell apart. There was nothing. Means it's just there is. It's basically it has no basis. It means the basis of it sounded like it's a, what I'm saying is the Freud himself is a fraud. That's the way it sounded like. Okay, so the entire the premise of science also started looking too small. Okay, after I read that book, the premise of science in which we take so much of pride and try to say that, oh, this is scientific, that is scientific. Look, science is, that premise itself looked very small. Okay, so and it changed, everything changed after that. In fact, my children and my family, many times they will say that it is the Raji Malhotra that we need to blame for you the way you are right now. So they will always my social circle also changed quite a bit after that, because wherever I used to, I had a lot of friend circles during that time, but wherever whichever gatherings or social gatherings or parties that I go to, something in me that was causing a rebel and causing a conflict in every party that I go to, because I could not stand by and listen to the same shallow discussions on any of the things. I used to interfere, and it used to be a very hot debate, extremely hot debate. So either it will be that is how it ended up being, and that's how it means. And by the way, I was mentioning this to you yesterday. I had a few very close friends, those who were Christians, practicing Christians, and they're very, very good and ethical people, ethical friends. So around 2010, I had I had a inclination to be a spiritual person. So I was thinking, I was contemplating, why don't I become a Christian? Because becoming a Christian also leads you to God realization. And I didn't know much about what Christianity was at that point. I knew that my friends, my very close friends, they're ethical, they're very warm, welcoming friends, and they're Christian. So why don't I become Christians? It at least gets me into a spiritual path, gets me into a spiritual routine, and then it has less conflict in the sense that food habit, and it also, everything about it makes more logical, at least appears to be more logical in terms of your social behavior, in terms of your relationships, things like that. It sounds makes much more logical in that sense. But somehow I did not get into this. And by the way, my two children, The schools that the daycares that I sent to here was to the was the Christian daycares, essentially the church daycares managed by the church. And the way me and my wife were logically thinking about it is the Christians also do teach good values, so it is good. It is nothing means wrong. In fact, it is good for them to learn these values. And that is true, actually. If you look at the values that is being propagated at a values level, you will not find anything contradictory in terms of Christian values. When you look deeper, that's when things fall apart. But it means at a surface, if you look at the values and everything, you will not find anything fault in that. But when the agenda shifts from God relation to power, that's what it is mostly. And that's what I feel about Christianity mostly anyway. Today, I feel it is both Christian and Islam are not spiritual, nothing to do with spirituality, rather to do with the power and to how to control, how to grab, how to expand from a power-centric point of view. That's what it is. Maybe Jesus might have started with that, but his message is lost when the Bible was born. So from that point onward, there is no Christianity per se. So people, those who take Jesus' name, they essentially trying to confuse, means even the genuine people, those who promote Jesus, in the sense that in a picture and things like that, I feel that they are doing a disrespect to humanity at this point, because they are letting the current generation or current church-going generation to be in their own logical thinking and not able to come out of it much quicker than what they should. That's the way I feel about it. That doesn't mean that Jesus may not be right, or Jesus may be, his message of love is not right, but his message of love is not practiced. It is just used to promote something, promote a power structure, promote conversion, or promote atrocities. That is what it is used. That is used in a very cunning way. You can see that very quickly. So those are the things that I had. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So. Let's see. Yeah, there was one thing you mentioned about, there's a few things, but you mentioned studying psychology and Freudian, and how so much of that framing of life is through sex and power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was one aspect, and we see that still now, and see, like, that's sort of like how that narrative gets imposed on Sanatana Hindu Dharma. So it's the attempt is made to frame a lot of those, frame even the Puranas and the Itihasas of Sanatana Hindu Dharma and other deities from that perspective, whether it's attacks on like Mahakali or Crown, say he was discriminating against Sitama and all these kind of things. So that was one of the things you shared about how that wrong narrative gets imposed upon Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And also, you mentioned how you assume that, in your explorations with Christianity, that it's also sort of very similar. It has a very similar perspective about how to reach to God. And you said that one of your friends had that their depth of context for their Christian practice was not rooted in spirituality. It was sort of more of a surface thing. But yeah, so so all these sorts of it just a lot of it speaks to the expressed purpose of some of the Lausanne Covenant and some of the bigger so-called Christian organizations and their goal to convert all of humanity. And it's like that's a completely although like you also mentioned that if Jesus was living a spiritual life, it's not the fact that the bigger Christian organizations today who are pushing conversion and other agendas are actually living what he may have taught or what he may have lived. So it's not necessarily any connection at all. But there's there's those for example, Lausanne Covenant, and so the that perspective of the fact that only people accepting this path can be liberated and everyone else is damned. That is it is a categorically and like diametrically opposed perspective to Hinduism, at least from Veda's arguments.
It is the doctrine of the Freudian doctrine. People don't realize that Freudian doctrine is not necessarily just for Freudian doctrine is essentially, if you look at today's society, how it functions, both from the even at the medicine level, even at the behavioral adjustment level, it is through this Freudian doctrine. Sex and power are the two major tools that is used to analyze a human being as well as to do course correction for that human being. Okay. For example, today, if you go to every school, every few schools will have for ADHD kids, ADHD children, or any children for that matter. They have a on campus, at least in USA, you have an on campus psychologist, so to say. They call therapist. I think they call physical therapist. If you study a little bit of how they approach in solving the problem, it is along the line of Freudian doctrine. Okay, so in fact, that is something that I wanted to pick your because you have done 6 years of research on that. Will you agree with that? Means 6 years of your PhD is essentially on that topic. How much of that is essential in practice today?
No, it's so. I did study. I studied. Ended up with an undergraduate degree in education, but
what I'm specifically looking for is procedures, protocols, and therapy mechanism that is adopted to affect the behavior of a person. in youth management, how much of it is aligned with the today's is aligned to the Freudian doctrine? Even today, it's prevalent across. How much of it is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how much I'd be able to comment on that specifically. There's a lot of different perspectives. The one thing that definitely is there is that there's not a complete life solution. There's not an integrated solution. There's not a consciousness-based solution, and there's not an understanding of consciousness. A lot of things are like, and a lot of it's behaviorism. There is, sort of physical, there's this understanding of the physical, the kinetic body. And then there's understanding of mind and some like thought trends and changing words and thought processes.
Yeah.
But it's the if you only stop in mind, if you don't go to consciousness, then
Sure. Yeah. So let me just give you a concrete example. Recently, I went to one.
Right?
Yeah.
You missed the source, right? The source.
Yeah. So recently, I went to one of the to listen to one of the. I was in one of the session for my elder child, and it was to means to give encouragement, youth, inspirations. It was most like an inspirational speech for the young to the young kids. If you strive through that entire inspirational speech, is essentially reinforcing. So essentially, the inspirational speech is about what you want to be in the society, first of all. And then using certain choice of words to reimpose that belief in you that you can be that in the society, in the context of the current society. Okay. But the ideals they were giving, the societal ideals they were giving, let's say that somebody wanted to be the best, to be the best swimmer, or somebody wants to be something like maybe somebody said entrepreneur. Each of the ideals they were giving, at the end, the reinforcement was done through, if you do not become that, what else you will be. Like, for it's like a comparative. If you look at a comparative, okay. So that is basically what you are saying is, it's essentially look at the other side of it. Look at the other side of it. How bad it will be. How worse it will be. It's a fear. It's a fear. It's a psychological fear that you instill to become better at you. That is how the inspirational speech was. And essentially, if you look at the Freudian, the power and sex is essentially, if you model that, you will find across all the behavioral studies is modeled around that. Instilling a certain sense of fear so that you do not go to that side and try to correct yourself. Basically, you are trying to control somebody's behavior through fear, through power, through sex. Those are the things. Those are that basically you are understanding one person's behavior through power and sex. That's what you are trying to, and then trying to tweak it to balance it so that what is acceptable in terms of sex and power in the society. How much sex and how much power is acceptable in the society, and based on that you are tweaking it. So that's why I say it's not even mind, it's not even anything else. If we look at if you go to, means this again, this is, I'm talking from observation, but I have not done a study on it. Every military officer that goes on duty, anytime he has a question which will which may be put him in conflict with respect to his superiors, are immediately asked to go to go check a string, go to basically local psychologist. So what they do essentially, they try to rationalize that behavior and try to fit that person in that power structure. Okay, so that is how the entire society is framed. It is not just, if you look at the whole ecosystem, whole society as a whole, right now, that is how it is operated. That is how it is operating today. Is based on a Freudian doctrine. You look at the school systems, you look at every single thing that is, and slowly it is becoming more and more prevalent across the board.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it is something to it's sort of like when you start, when you start with limitation, then you can never get a solution.
Yeah.
So there is definitely, it is something that's missing. It's like if you basically, if you search pretty much everywhere on earth, if you look at anyone who's commenting about anything, if you ask them, people will complain and criticize systems, etc. But you almost will find nobody who actually would say that that they have a solution for everyone, for everything.
Yeah.
Like, people will not say that, right? So it's one of the things that we see is that although there's a certain conditioning to complain about things, whatever, it's like no one is claiming to have a solution. And that is actually profound. It's actually important for people to recognize that no one, almost no one, nowhere, anywhere is saying they have a solution. So that's important. We have to recognize that that no one is claiming or recognizing a solution. That's important. And, so that's definitely the condition. Commentators, podcasters, political commentators, newscasters, they will comment generally up to the point of politics and possible political directions or legal directions or policy directions up to that point. But essentially, no one will claim to have a solution for everyone. It is that sort of situation where it's like, if that's where you start, without solutions, then but in a certain sense also, that is what's described in Bhagavatam as Kali Yuga. This is described that that the humanity will make decisions based on their genitals, and these specific kind of things are described. And for example, things like that a man will feel it fit to appear in public simply after having a bath. Whereas, it's like the sort of, Brahma Muhurta rituals in Sanatana Hindu dharmas. You wake up and you clean your body, do yoga, puja, and only after cleansing the body through things like Jalavashti, this is the process of waking up. so yeah, it's definitely a profound difference, and there are a lot of different factors to it. And, yeah, that's why a real tested, proven solution is vehemently needed. So,
Yeah.
it's overdue and it's extremely necessary. It's not optional, and it's gone past the point of of a solution not being needed. Past the point, it really is, and yeah, so more and more people are, and young people especially, right? That is one of the things is young people at a young age are encountering deep desperation and despair. And they themselves are recognizing that they're experiencing. So that's the thing. There are many epidemics. That is one of them. Youth depression, suicide is one of them. Diabetes, obesity. There are many epidemics that are going on, and that is the thing is, what and you mentioned also guru and ignorance for guru, and without a frankly without a guru who can access Akashic records, who can access the conscious source of Vedas Agamas, and refresh and renew and represent, the Vedas Agamas and life for modern humanity in a way, without having access to a conscious being like that, who can tell you straightly solutions and powers and truth and demonstrate them and live them. Like you said, the entire society is completely governed and locked in logic, and what we call is binary logic, human logic. And, that's an issue for sure. When, like you mentioned, that when the only solution you get is through logic, by definition, logic can't be a solution. Logic can't describe the vastness of life. So, these are epidemics. There is there's a mental epidemic. There's a logic epidemic. People experience
the logic. The critical thing is the logic based with flawed data points can lead to disastrous conclusion, and that is what we have become. Basically, is a mass which is logically making decisions on a flawed data points, and it is especially growing up. If you look at growing up, the data points are not authentically presented to a growing mind in any aspect. Not just, I'm not talking about the spiritual aspect, any aspect, which is subverted completely, means it is not presented in an authentic form. It is not there anymore. And it is nothing to do with like Sanatana Dharma or spiritual practice. You just look at it, you cannot find authentic information anywhere today on any specific topic. You just can't find it. And you have to be, you have to, and that is what is presented to the today's mass essentially. they do not have access to authentic data points.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean authentic data points?
So let's say that you are having, let's take the example current pandemic, right? So my sense, the current pandemic, the authentic data points will be to
So just have an internet interruption there. So yeah, so there's many aspects here and many things that are fitting into current life and living. There's the current issue of the young girl Lavanya, who had ended up taking poison and committing suicide in that sense, because in her words that she was forced to, she was ridiculed and taken advantage of, and was repeatedly intimidated about converting her religion from Hinduism to Christian. But so
sorry, I got disconnected. So
yeah.
so authentic data points means just noting down the observations as is without adding any, maybe the basically it is a control conditions. You just lay out the control conditions and note down the observations as is and make that information public. That is essentially authentic data point.
Yeah.
It is not available. For public.
Yes, sure. So okay, good. So is there anything else you want to share about even your journey or spiritual journey or otherwise?
No, the sweet thing that happened to me, the conclusion is always, for me at least, I have found the truth. That is, in 2016, I just came across a video of Rajiv Malhotra and my Urpi Guru at that time. And that kind of, from nowhere, I had means that suddenly I had a feeling that I must see this person. Is making too much sense and I must see this person. And then I attended few webinars, and then I was there in Inner Awakening in April of 2017. This is, I'm talking about my guru.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Good. You need to just tell us what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, you were saying something, Aya? I could not follow you.
You mentioned Rajiv Malhotra, then you need to tell us what you're talking about after that.
Yes. So in 2016, I was just watching a few of the videos of Rajiv Malhotra at the time. So basically, by then I had so just to let you know, from 2014 to 2016, I would have spent roughly every day. I will spend about 6 to 8 hours roughly about listening to Rajiv Malhotra's video or some other similar topic, or reading some material of similar nature of, like, for example, Being Different or Breaking India, or those kind of materials that I'll be reading. So in 2016, I was watching one of the video of Rajiv Malhotra. He was interviewing my would-be guru at that time, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam at the time. So in the interview, I was drawn into the convincing way he was able to articulate each of the answers, and it kind of something in that answer that I was drawn into. There was basically, after I listened to that video, a lot of means I did not have a urge to ask question. Okay, there was no urge to ask any more question. It kind of just was not there as much. So in 2000, then I had a desire to participate in one of his program at that time. I wanted to meet him in person, essentially. So that's how I got into, in 3 months afterwards, I got into a 23 days program in Bangalore, Bidadi, organized by Bhagavan Paramahansa Nithyananda. So I attended the program. So that's when I truly realized what Hindu practice is all about. Till then, I had no clue. I had zero clue. I was just doing something. So that's a concluding statement, and that's where I want to end.
So what happened in this program?
Well, a lot of things happened. So in the program, it was a quite intense program, actually. So it was a very intense program. So every day practically every day we used to have you have to go through certain rituals, agamic rituals, as per agamas. Till then, I didn't know there was, means I had heard about agamas, but means I had never followed, never did anything with it. So, but that was the very first time I went through a set of, every day there used to be a set of agamic rituals that you go through, and based on those agamic rituals, Swamiji used to initiate us for a specific set of power manifestation. When we say power manifestation, essentially, it will be demonstrating or giving a sakhi pramana to every individual, giving a proof to every individual that was the entire program is structured to make everyone realize they themselves are the God. That is the essence of the entire program, inner awakening program. If you look at it, at the end of the day, you realize that you are God. Okay. So the program was designed in a way that Swamiji gives like a enlightenment master, in this case, Bhagavan Paramahansa Nithyananda, gives initiations as per agamic instructions to each of the participants to experientially realize that they are not just the body and mind, they're a lot more than that. Okay. So for a logical mind like mine or anyone else to feel that he's always looking for a miracle, something extraordinary, right? Something extraordinary to convince him. So in those programs, one of the Shakti was consciousness over matter. So what it means is, through your pure consciousness, you can move an object. You can move an object. So like that, there are many powers that Swamiji initiates us. And also it follows through a specific set of agamic inscriptions. Basically, you get two dikyas. One is called Guru Dikya and Shiva Dikya. But the essence is so every day we will go through the agamic rituals, and then also we'll go through power manifestations. We ourselves, every participant will be going through a process to manifest these powers that they were initiated into, along with other processes such as completion and everything. So means towards the end of the 23 days program, I was able to demonstrate the consciousness over matter. Basically, I was able to roll coconuts and some other objects from my hand, from other person's hand, and things like that. As well as I was able to do body scanning in the sense that you look at the person in front of you, and then you bring Swamiji. You bring Swamiji into your third eye, into your and whatever is revealed to you at that point, you describe it about them. That is what is body scanning is. So I was able to get some of the intimate details about the person who I never met. In fact, they're not even part of the same country. One person that I said that he had a like injury in his skull, means I have never seen his skull or something, and he describes that injury to me. So these are the different things that. But the key things that that instills in you that Hinduism is real, the Agamas are real, the Shaktipadas are real, Enlightened Master is real, the energy transmission is real. So all those things, up to the end of the day, there is no questions to be asked. You have been through that, you have seen it. You are the Sakhi Pramana. What else do you need? So after that, I had no questions, no logical questions I needed to be answered, asked or anything. And later on, a deep, so later on, a deep cognition that happened in me, basically something deep within that happened that I cannot describe what it is. I think it will be difficult for me to describe. Is that Swamiji is the representation of truth. That's it. There is no more truth needs to be sought. I don't have to go anywhere, do anything, and I have no more questions to be asked. Means is the truth, and what it means to me is to be integrated to everyday, which I don't do, but that is means I am not as integrated as I would like to be. Means in the sense that when I say integrated, what it means is this. It's a set of practices that it describes. It's not something like, let's say that at 4:30, get up in the morning, do yoga, means follow your life like Sattvic life, then do puja. So that is what I mean by integrity when he's saying that do these 5-7 different things to be a Hindu and to live an enlightenment life. So that is a deep thing that happened in me. So in a sense, that's what I want to say. And yeah. And there is no more questions in me to be asked or answered. It's all means it is the source. The way I look at it is there is nothing else to be answered in this life. It's just, everything is answered as far as I am concerned.
So was it just the third eye powers, or was it other things that convinced you in that way?
No, it is not a convincing. It is not. It is not a convincing or anything. I don't think there is any convincing. No, nobody convinced me. I don't think it is that way. Something happened, so I can't describe it. So okay. So just to give you like the afterwards, what happened, that may help the audience to understand what I went through later on, later 2 years of my life after that, 2 3 years of my life. So I came back home after this inner awakening program. Came home, and I had heard about Kundalini means before, but I didn't know what it is. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know what the Kundalini power is or energy is all about. I had no clue. So I came home and we had a vacation planned after for a week, 2 weeks of vacation. So I went out for vacation. Then after coming back from the vacation, we were driving to a shuttle launch, to space shuttle launch. I live in Orlando, so we have the space station, space shuttle launch from here. So we went to watch the space shuttle launch. So as I am driving, I suddenly feel a strong energy coming through my spines. That is lifting me from my chair, from my driver seat, and it's not, and it kept happening. I could not sit in the driver's seat. I just kept jumping from the seat. Then my wife noticed it. What is happening? I said, most likely it is Kundalini. That was what is happening right now. And then I stopped the car, and then my wife started driving, and all the way the Kundalini power was so strong that I could not literally sit in that car seat. I was still jumping, and then my family went for lunch, and I told them I cannot go to the lunch because I cannot sit there. So let me be in the car and van. So I had the continuous levitation for going on. And also the same night, there was a program, Swamiji's program, where he was initiating the Urbi Adinavasis. So I was watching that program live. So this continuous levitation lasted for about, I'll say 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. So it means when I say continuous levitation, I mean to say that it will levitate, and then it will like maybe 10, 15 minutes, I'll settle down, levitate again, 10, 15 minutes, settle down, like that. It was, so, but I do not I do not think that because of this experience I got convinced. I do not think, I know that not because of these experiences I got convinced. It was none of that. And they're not. This is just one of the many experiences. There are many experiences I had. I had many profound experiences I had, which will be very hard for many audiences to reason with, logical audiences to reason with. Means those who are in the spiritual path, they can easily reason with. Something happened which is deep, which I cannot explain, and I do not think because of these experiences there is no causal effect at this point. It's just happened. Means there is nothing causal about it. Something. So, and there are many experiences that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so you have to tell us more about these things because power manifestation is a huge subject.
Yeah.
And your experiences of this, aspect of Hinduism and Guru initiation, all that. And
yeah.
Just knowing, that it made some kind of change in you that you're saying you can't necessarily explain how or what happened. So you have to tell us more about some of these things.
Yes, we can continue maybe in the next session for that, and I will definitely discuss in detail. But one takeaway is I do not think it is any of these experiences that caused this change. The experiences are the byproduct. Something happened, I do not know what. And these experiences are the byproduct of that change. So in that 23 days, Swamiji did instill something deep down, which I do not, at this point, I do not have a pulse on it, but yeah.
So then what can you say about like how it has changed you? What is the impact? What is the benefit or purpose?
The immediate impact is I'm not an anxious person anymore. My anxiety dropped. I used to be a very anxious person before. I'm not, I won't say I have zero anxiety, but my anxiety has dropped significantly. So that is and I do not know whether people realize, how much they have reflected on the anxiety itself. Because if they reflect deeply in the anxiety itself, they will realize that if you take anxiety out of your life, you will live a blissful life. Okay. We feel that the anxiety is needed and normal to operate in this world to achieve our goal. That is not true. So that's the very first thing, and fundamentally one of the most important thing it did to me.
So, okay, how could you do this without a guru?
So without a guru, you mean?
Yeah.
Sure. After I met Swamiji, I did not know much. Before I met Swamiji, I did not know much about enlightened masters. I did not really think too much of it. I had no idea. After I met Swamiji, I'm drawn into enlightened masters and their stories. Okay. I have listened to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's stories, and all the conversations of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's and his about his devotees and disciples. There is a very good YouTube series made by David Godman. Anybody can go and look at it. Also, recently I was listening to Ramakrishna Paramahansa's stories and his disciple stories. Okay. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's, I do not think, from whatever I have read, I do not think he had a formal guru or anything, or also he doesn't prescribe. But even then, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's clearly insist on having a guru. Okay, why I'm bringing that up is Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi bringing that up is if there is a secular mind there who thinks that, okay, I'm just addressing those audience, I'm not addressing practicing in the audience. If a secular mind there, secular person there, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's teaching is about being silence, essentially one of his teaching. And his teaching is not based on any agamic inscription. It's a very, very short, like I think 10-page teaching, okay, the entire thing. Even he says that you must have a guru. Okay, so whoever is out there thinking that they can do it on their own without a guru, they are just fooling their mind. They're just like, they're in this transaction mind, which they're not able to come out of it. That's all it is. And one easy way to really somebody sincere about it is to look at the life of online and enlightened masters, practitioners, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of examples. It's not just one. It is not just one person, one individual. It's like thousands, it's millions.
Yeah, that is one example though. Like, Ramana Rishi, so yeah, that is actually, since you raised it, did he not have a guru, or that, what is,
I do not know, but what I have read from this, I did not find a clear indication that he had a guru or he had a guru. So and there is a good chance that he may not have a guru. And if you look at his teaching, it's basically be in silence. If you look at his book, essentially to drop the self, that is the one detachment, is unclutching is essentially his teaching is at a high level. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that, but I'm just simplifying it. Even then, even his disciple Papaji, there is another disciple of him who was enlightened master. Even his disciple, everybody is telling you to have a guru. So if we are, it's like Einstein or somebody at that level of science or somebody that renowned is better take it seriously. Means, why do you even like think too much? Why to waste time, energy to think too much?
yeah, exactly. Like, thing is, yeah, exactly. Like, you could say, if someone wanted to argue a fraction of a percentage, it could, like, because the memory here is like, yeah, Bhagavan Ramana Rishi, he had like a death experience in like either his early teens or something, and and he traded his school, he used his school fee money to I think what he said was, I think what he did, and I may be making this up, but I think what he did is he told his family that he lost the money he was supposed to pay because he needed twice that much to pay for a train or a bus to, this may not be true, but to get to Tiruvannamalai. And so then he got the money back, and then he went. So yeah, he went to Tiruvannamalai and he threw away his clothes, took a loincloth, took a bath in the temple. Yeah. And eventually he sat down inside essentially one of the Gopuram or caves around in the Tiruvannamalai temple. And what they said was that his body was being eaten by rats. Like, he sat for like 9 months and his body was being eaten by rats. That's the memory I have of his story. So yeah, so that would be the thing. Like, someone could argue a fraction of a percentage. Technically, it can be possible, but practically, it's absolutely impossible. So to happen without a guru.
So the thing is, so in case of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, right? So one is to, before even one get to that point, right? One is to deeply cognize rebirth. So what happens if you do not even cognize rebirth? It's just a talking point, maybe once in a while. So if you deeply cognize rebirth, okay, and you know for fact, deep down, you know that rebirth is real, then yeah, you should go and look at Ramana Maharshi's life, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's life, because Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's prior work, Prarabdha, what was his Prarabdha? That will start unfolding maybe to a certain extent in the entire play of his Leela, right? So it means just asking a question whether you means it's a useless question to ask whether you can do it with them. Means even the masters of masters, irrespective, they're telling you again and again and again, those who have gone down this path, telling you you need. So why even like ask that question? And that means you yourself are not looking seriously about it or sincerely about it. It's just a talking point at this point. And also that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it can be thought of the successfully the media, and not the media, the British or whoever, means somewhere anti-Hindu forces have successfully, if you look at Hinduism and Buddhism, right? The guru disciple and reincarnation of gurus, many gurus, is essentially is the core backbone of the Hinduism. Guru disciple relationship is the backbone of Hinduism. Okay. So somewhere along the line, the anti-Hindu forces have been successfully able to spoil that relationship. Because it is very foundation. If you take that away, then the entire thing falls out. If somebody is analyzing this, means at this point today in this world, to take down Hinduism, you basically you have to do few things, and one of them is your guru disciple relationship, and they have done that effectively. They maligned almost all the gurus, and that is why basically mind will be hesitant to go down that path. But if you study enlightened masters, any enlightened masters a little bit, you will realize that this is a prerequisite even in this birth, or you already have made that prerequisite in the last part. You have learned so much. I do not know, but this is kind of a prerequisite to start your journey in your spiritual journey.
Yeah, and that's the other part, the other aspect of that is that we don't recognize the gurus that we've had.
Right.
Like our parents were our gurus, our teachers were our gurus, the books that we read were our gurus, the people that we lived around that we learned from were our gurus, the television we watched was our guru, right? The singers and movie stars, the Hollywood, Bollywood was our guru. So that we don't actually even see, right?
Mm-hmm.
The food commercials were our gurus. That we don't get. We're complaining about guru. Hey, look, right? Yeah. That's how did I learn how to eat? Who taught me how to eat the way that I eat, right? And right, the entertainment that I consume. Who taught me that? Who is my guru for that? That part, we're so ready to attack gurus. So.
Yes.
What gurus did I have that created the current mental setup, the limited self-defeating mental setup that I have? What influences in my life were my gurus that created that? That question we don't have.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, so that's the thing. That's why it's important to share about our experience with gurus. Because that is what is, and it's very likely guru is the most misunderstood, the most missing, the most needed, and the most abused concept on planet Earth. Experience says that is the case. There's so many aspects of, relationship with the guru. what it's supposed to be, because we go from teacher to teacher to teacher, and there may be a memory of, some concepts from that teacher, but and then even as you said, right, the experience that you can get from Guru, that actually you can never describe to another person. And that is the part where it's like, that's one of the experiences with Guru is, no matter what it's sort of like, no matter what you tell, however much you talk, however much you tell that person, actually, they'll never understand.
Yeah.
Sure. Like only through their own experience. Like that is the thing, is when early on, that was one of the realizations. It's like, you know what? They will never understand the conviction I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They'll never understand it.
Yeah.
And it's like, only if you have the experience, then you'll understand what I'm talking. And I remember in the earlier days when other people would talk about their experience with Guru and spiritual, it was like, how could they possibly say that? And then eventually, okay, now I'm understanding. But then I saw, the other people, you will never ever be able to understand what I'm talking about. And so you can never agree, because that conviction that happens in you, that is, one of the things is, hey, I don't have the logic for it, but I don't need the logic for it. No one can move me off of this. And it's because it's beyond actually anything it's beyond actually even knowing for me. So I'm not complaining or arguing either way. If you can move me off of this thing, then you can go ahead, right? But it's like, till now, that's not happening. So this is how it. That's how it.
That is right. That is exactly this. It's a conviction. So once it's a conviction, nobody can move you out. That's right. That's what it is.
So many beautiful, impacts of that, because it also means like you don't have to defend yourself.
No, at inner space you don't defend. You might get angry or something, but at inner level you don't need to defend. You are pretty convinced. You are done. At the inner level you are done. You don't need to defend it or anything.
It's such a nice freedom to be able to practice being in the presence of others who who are trying to use their logic to disturb you.
Yeah.
And
so
it's like,
they can,
and it's such a liberating, because this is what is ahimsa. Because you had mentioned in some of your sharings, right, about the different perspective of, for example, one God or one birth religions that won't accept the path of Sanatana Dharma. And so it's, and you also mentioned like the solution has to be, you said like, and then I just felt like, okay, Christian, they seem to be, there's good people there. It seems like it's probably offering the same path, the same thing.
Yeah.
Because this is always the thing, is that, like you're mentioning with that Freudian sex and power, and that the whole thing is this sort of, so that comes with the id and the ego and the superego. And so, and so the thing that is, where it gets caught is we're only caught in logic. It's like the manifestation of your consciousness is missed.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference, is that because you were saying like caste system, if to be a so-called British caste system, if you're a Hindu, then and that we're all divine beings and there's so many gods and they're all supporting us to manifest our enlightenment, then you were saying, right, so many times you said the caste system, it just completely collapses. Like it cannot stand for, like it doesn't make any sense. It clearly makes no sense to any of us. But that is a different perspective that so-called religions will have. And so this is, it's this vast, like, what is that? The courage that the Guru Parampara has, its boldness, the boldness and conviction that, like Adi Shankaracharya, that the Guru Parampara can have to say, hey, we can build an entire civilization based on ahimsa, based on enlightenment, just by inspiring people to live, to be what they are.
Yeah.
That is a totally different, like, diametrically opposed perspective to how planet Earth is running now, right? By definition, we give up on people, and we are limited. We are limited by definition. We're limited. So and no one has solutions. So it's just about, I have to build a fort and hold what I can hold as much as me and my family can hold. And we'll, give some kind of, we'll call it charity or something, to try to keep the people from not getting too angry. But there's such it's such a courageous declaration to say, hey, everyone is Paramashiva, despite how much violence is in planet Earth and with the humanity. It's such a courageous, bold, ferocious statement to say, no, we will enlighten you. Not through any force. You cannot force enlightenment. That itself is such a ferocious statement. Such a ferocious statement to such a bold risk. It's not even risky, but it is. It's such a. It is such a. It's such. There must be a better word than bold. But for someone to stand there and say, "No, you are Paramashiva, and you are the ultimate being, and all of us will realize that, and we'll support each other." That is such to go against all the negativity of humanity. That's such a bold statement to say, no, we will live non-violence. And you are that. And is it not? That is such a courageous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So, it's, I always feel an experience about whether Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and so many Subhash Chandra Bose and so many of these leaders and who were reviving the spirit of Sanatana Dharma, and it's just because this concept of, it was just speaking today in the social media there about the Hindu music attacks on professors in USA and how they're being documented as per their opinions and they'll be pushed out of the system. And this trend that modern so-called Hindus are being raised to be very meek and not having a strong foundation to stand on, and so that this is that is the boldness and strength that all the enlightened gurus stood upon, and this understanding of like turn the other cheek, or when they come to kill you, just die nicely, die peacefully. It's the enlightened masters never taught you to be powerless. So this is one of the big misunderstandings of ahimsa, is that that you should be powerless, and that if your tradition is being destroyed, then it just has to get destroyed. There's a way of being ferocious with yourself to ferociously enrich and support and tell the truth about what's happening. So you don't have to entertain it. So anyway, I want to hear more about your spiritual experiences and benefit and impact. So that we can do that soon. I think we're coming to just the last few minutes for today. So, is there something else you'd like to share in the last few moments?
No, not really. I think Ajay for our audience, we really need to sincerely start looking at Hinduism in the context of Enlightenment science, and that should be our basis to explain everything else. So, okay, what does it mean? Let's say that the entire Hinduism is for Enlightenment science. So does it mean, how does the caste system fit into that role? Just start explaining. Even if you are a very logical mind, start explaining that. So you will see the true true story of Varna Jati, what exactly it is. If you contemplate enough, you'll realize. The same way, start explaining other aspects of a architecture or music or dance that comes directly from Hindu ecosystem. You'll have a lot different perspective. Also along the way, you'll enjoy it a lot more. Then that will be my closing comment on this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and that's the discourse that's missing. You know, it's Hinduism is talked about in many ways, but the manifesting the power of your consciousness in all aspects is not talked about, which is the purpose of your life, and the importance and role and possibility for what kind of guru to do that is also not talked about. So it's like the two most important aspects: you manifesting your consciousness, and a guru that has already done that can do that for you. The two most important points of Hinduism is not, like, almost never talked about at all. So that's why we think it's just a book, and then it becomes just a book, and then if it's just a book, it's not needed.
Sure.
Okay, great. So we'll complete for today chanting for mantra, and we can have you join again for future sessions to share your experiences and perspectives. Thank you very much, Aya, for coming and sharing. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thank you.
And always new perspectives and a lot more depth and breadth. For me, living. So we'll complete chanting for a mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Bharukar Paramastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you again next time.
Thank you.